Hey, hello. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I don't know if the volume levels are good enough, but as people come in, you could ask me and tell me that you can't hear me or you can hear me. Well, welcome to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. It seems like I'm here like every other day now, right? Well, BMU is gallivanting around the country with the family and stuff like that. We had a pretty good show on the barbershop last Friday. I would say go back on replay and take a look at that one. We had some pretty good conversations. We were going deep, all the way up in there, uh, and we had some good back and forth. So I thought it was a good barbershop. Actually, we kind of even stayed on point for the whole damn show. That was something. Um, so go back and look at that replay and have some fun with it. So we had a nice time on Friday. It wasn't even that long either. I think we didn't stay on there overly long. I think we finished after waiting 3 hours or less or something like that. But it was pretty good. So welcome tonight. You know what the title is of the show, The Politics of Masculinity. And we can get into that, because there's some different, of course, there's layers to everything we talk about on this network about masculinity and things of that nature, whatever it is. So we're not going to go all over the place, but there's a lot of connections that we'll talk about. And of course, you could call me the clip master. I try to get other people to talk for me as opposed to me trying to say, hey, these are all my ideas. There's a lot of people who have talked about what they think about masculinity and where it's going and what's wrong with it. So it's good for you to hear what other people are saying, other than just me here, touting my own opinion. Of course, I'm looking at people who agree, who are somewhat like-minded as me. But you can go and do your own research and find people talking about what happened to masculinity, what happened to men over the years, in the advent of feminism, woke culture, and things of that nature, Hollywood, and they're bent on things. All of it has all of it paid a price on. In order to succeed, somehow you have to emasculate and effeminate, and I say demasculate men to work, and it's done a pretty good job. Now we ain't talking about whether people can fight and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you got men who are gay and who are, simps and all that. When it comes to fighting each other, some of those guys are tough. But we're just talking about how you behave and how you view yourself in the higher order or natural order of things. There are some men who feel more comfortable when they acquiesce to the women around them. The Black community is pretty much one of the only communities around who just genuflect to their women. And it hasn't done us well over the years. Matter of fact, it's been a big detriment. And I think we're starting to see that shit turn around, but we're not going to go down just that path. We're going to go down a more general path. So I have some things for you. Like I said, I have some clips and things of that nature. But before we get started with all that, listen, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the Cash App, make sure you let everybody know that you appreciate the content. Leave some comments, get into the chat, and we'll go from there. So let me see what else we have. Well, we haven't had anybody pop into the chat just yet, but that's cool. All right, so when we look at the politics of masculinity, I mean, like I said, there's many layers to it. And there's a religious layer to it too. And they don't always say, well, this is a masculine thing to do and that's a feminine thing to do. But when you listen to people who are religious, you can get that they're coming from the natural order of things, right? God, man, woman, and child. And you'll get some of that out of this particular live that we're doing today. So of course, a lot of people don't like to say it, but there's a general war on masculinity in America, maybe even in all the Western world, but we're only talking about here. The war has been raging for quite some time. the modern day feminists, Hollywood, with woke and cancel culture, the movies, uh, in the classroom. There's a lot of things that's going on that has a full frontal attack on men being men. Matter of fact, the biggest grift is uh, convincing men that masculinity is toxic, right? I mean, first of all, there's nothing more bullshit than that. Just even the phrase itself is a slight to men everywhere because masculinity is in no way toxic at all. It's not. I mean, there might be people with character flaws and things of that nature, but masculinity in and itself is not toxic. There's nothing toxic about it. It's just natural to who men are and how we behave in certain circumstances. And it's needed for us to move through life. Our masculine traits, our masculine attitudes, and things of that nature. So I was talking about this almost 2 years ago, man, more than 2 years ago. I did a video on my channel when I first kind of got started on YouTube because I used to write. I wrote a one page or no such thing as toxic masculinity, and then I put it on YouTube. And I'm gonna play that in a few minutes. And I go through some of the stuff I said, but this was in January 2023, right at the height of the last disastrous administration with Biden and Harris, and when woke culture had gotten so far out of hand, and uh, I mean, just too far out of hand. The pendulum had swung so far to the left that we were getting ready to fall off the cliff as a nation. And I don't even know what it would look like if Harris would have won the presidency with all of those things in the far left running the Democratic Party. I know censorship would have been back in full force. I can't imagine what would happen to the children in their schools and how they're being taught and how they're being groomed. I would imagine single motherhood would, still be the order of the day. Women wanting children with no husbands, raising boys to be sassy or assassins for that matter, you know. So it's good to see Christian values come back a little bit. I know people hate Trump, and that's okay. I mean, he's no saint. But I think one of the reasons why a lot of women hate Trump, especially black women, is because he's unapologetically a man. He won't acquiesce to the bullshit that they routinely throw at black men. So whether you're a white woman, black woman, or any woman, he treats people like they treat him. You come at him, he says, I don't care if you're a woman. I'm going to say what I want to say. And it's obvious that he appealed to a lot of men. And that's why a lot of young men, especially, voted for him. What's up? What's up, Taylor? What's going on, man? So we're just getting started. I got some clips here, and it is one of the biggest reasons in this. Black women can't say it's because he's a criminal. Half of the babies y'all have are by criminals. So you don't care about criminality. So it's really, y'all just hate him because he's a man. Unapologetically a man. He doesn't give a shit about what y'all say. And y'all don't get enough of that. So, so that's one of the reasons. And so it could be more than, I didn't say it was the only one, but it's one of them. Well, anyway, so here is a clip. I'm going to just go through. I have clips. Here's a clip that I put out there in 2003, 23, I'm sorry, 2023 on that there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. And I just want to play it. I don't even know where I got the gumption to even start a YouTube channel because I think it just took me too long to kind of write these missives out. I said, I'd rather just go ahead and say them out loud and see how people like them. Anyway. So I'm gonna play that while we're coming in. As people come in, we'll just kind of keep going. That is around here somewhere. All right. How are you? Welcome to my channel, where a topic on any given day could be marriage, politics, or sports. Today, we're talking about the fact that this little gem today is about that I believe there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. I'll argue that point with anybody. So, but before we get into it, just please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll get any future updates. Share this message if you agree or don't agree. But if you don't agree, give me some comments. Let's talk about it. So I'm clear on this. I tell everybody that don't talk to me as a man that being masculine, which is natural to us, can in any way be negative or toxic. Only because that the things that people say that are toxic are usually character flaws. They're not natural flaws. Men can be toxic. I'll grant you that. But so can women. So can anybody else if they behave badly. But that has nothing to do with their true nature. So I wrote this one pager up about why I don't think that there's any such thing as toxic masculinity. And I go kind of off because I'm going to try to prove a point, because it's not just about masculinity itself. It's how did we get to where we are today in terms of this term toxic masculinity and the fact that most men today are not really being true to their nature. We acquiesce to too many things. We acquiesce to our women. We acquiesce to bad politics. We acquiesce to all the kind of things that kind of emasculate and in the worst case, effeminate men. So I don't agree with any of that. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't make me any kind of transphobic and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, that's all bullshit. The point is that the world works best when men can be men. Mm-hmm. And that's my position, and I stick to it. So let's get into just a little bit of what I view as the definition of masculinity. It's defined as a set of qualities and attributes, characteristics or behaviors, and roles associated with men and boys. Traits traditionally viewed as masculine in our society include strength, courage, independence, leadership, and assertiveness. Now, on the surface of it, there's nothing toxic about any of those characteristics that I just mentioned. And I also say that they're not just exclusive to men, right? But the degrees of how that makes up a man being masculine has to be much more than a woman, right? Because men, we have to have all of those attributes in order to really be successful in life. The majority of men who want to be men. Anyway, so the pushback on these traits and the attack on these traits is by the feminist movements and probably a lot of the rainbow groups, only because they're teamed up to discuss that in order for them to have equal footing in society, we have to bring down the masculinity of men to satisfy, their agendas. So let me leave that right there. Listen, that was true back then, and it's true today, right? I mean, that's exactly how it went and how it's going. In order for them to succeed, I mean, let's just take an example of a random movie, right, or anything like that. When you have these hero chicks, right, the boss chicks, there's always a line. There's always some sequence of event where they have to, cut the balls off of a man in order for them to look good, right? So it's one of those kind of things. The thing that's worse about it is that men, shit, man, we allowed this shit to happen. Mostly the white dudes, right? Because they're really in charge. And I just think that the pendulum has swung so far to the left that it gave rise to, Trumpism. I mean, it's just no way about it. I mean, it's time for the pendulum to swing back. And I think that's what it really happened. So, I used to have this thing, and I know people didn't agree with me because I had it a little bit wrong. I used to say that I thought that gay men became gay or a lot of men wanted to be gay because they didn't want the pressures of being men out there in the world. You know, I thought that was true for a second. And then I started to think, then the advent of transgenderism, right, came in and trans men. It's not gay men I was talking about. It was trans men I was talking about. There's a big difference. Gay men, one thing about gay men, they don't consider themselves women. They're men. They still gotta bring it out of the mud if they want to be successful. They just have sexual proclivities that I don't agree with, but they're still men, and they identify as men. But transgender men, the ones who want to be women, I think that's the problem. They don't want the pressures of being men because women are coddled in the West. Women need constant of affirmation, and a lot of that is available on the Democratic plantation. That's why 90% of Black women want to stay there, and they don't want to leave. And they're champions for the alphabet community. So the trans people want to dominate women. They don't want to just be women. They want to dominate women's sports because they fail at men's sports. They're coming in 450th spot, but if they go swim against the women, they could win a gold medal. And so that's domination. They want to taunt women and go in their locker rooms and whip their Johnsons out in front of them and say, I belong here along with you. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. That's a domination kind of thing that they want to, display and employ against women. And it's so funny that women, too many women don't even argue against that. If it wasn't for Riley Gaines, I don't know. And so the pendulum has swung. So I just think that those men absolutely don't want to be men because of the pressures of being a man. And they can't handle it. So they want to go ahead and move into women's spaces. And that's what they've done, And so women and men on the Democratic side, they're all for this kind of behavior, this kind of lifestyle. And I think in the last election, I think people said, you know what, this far and no further. There's too much of that shit going on. And and if you're a Christian, that's even worse, right? Because I don't see, there's another part, of course. They're also for the sexual transitions of adolescents and pre-adolescent kids from one sex to another. I mean, these things are all unchristian stuff. And I think there was a referendum in the last election that a lot of people just missed. And the men who were for that, if you had a regular conversation with a regular man, a masculine man, I can't see anybody sitting down here saying they would agree with, gender affirming care for children. Right? I think there's something fundamentally wrong with your masculinity if you believe in some shit like that. It's crazy. I mean, it's not even Christianity, but I have something for that a little bit later. So I just think that, the left and the Democrats who party definitely wanted to emasculate men in order to have more control over how things are going, because it seems like women run that party. For sure, they might put some men up front, but all the spokeswomen with the loudest mouths, the spokespeople with the loudest mouths are women. So anyway, so there you go. So I caught some stuff on the DNC National Convention. And at the convention, they had a bunch of roundtables on the new man, what a new man looks like. What a new man, when they put a tampon Timmy up as the vice president, a guy who advocates for tampons in little boys' bathroom. As a matter of fact, there was some kind of brewing scandal that they kept a lid on, talking about tampon Timmy, but, we won't go into that. But there might have been more than meets the eye. So he was supposed to be the new face of masculinity, And I think a lot of men rejected that, especially young men, so, so there's a lot of clips on that. Uh, so let's go ahead, and I want to show you what one of the MSNBC anchors talked about the new masculinity. It's a real short clip. I'm gonna play it.
MAGAism is this reductive, misogynistic throwback form, a very regressive. MAGAism is this reductive, misogynistic throwback form, a very regressive form of masculinity that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have offered the country. It's rooted in grievance, and it's coach night here, right? Democrats are offering the country Tim Walz, as Joy said, the football coach who can also be head of the LGBT gay straight alliance at his local high school. I mean, this is a person, and I would say Doug Emhoff too, two men who are comfortable supporting powerful, capable, intelligent women as they break a woman in particular, Kamala Harris, but women in general as they break glass ceilings, as Kamala Harris seeks to lead the nation. It's really, I think, a hinge point in terms of, I'm not going to call it the battle of the sexes, but gender and how we think of traditional roles of men and women.
So they had a lot of conversations like that, in order for, what's going on, champ? How you doing, man? They had a lot of they had a lot of commentary like that during the DNC. And of course, she said it all, right? In order for you the Democrats were all for this new man they're talking about. And Tim Walz was supposed to be the face of that. Maybe even Dylan Mulvaney, the Bud Light transgender. We saw how that ended. It's just crazy. It's just craziness. So obviously, she was reading the wrong tea leaves, and thank God. The face of the new masculinity is what we have right now. Men standing up 10 toes down for being men and unapologetic about it. That's where the world needs to be. And I have some more stuff on that, but it's that's where the war is. I think the war transcended just just argument of identity, or it was actually political, right? The Democrats really were pushing this. In order for you to be a man, you have to acquiesce to what women want. Whether they're right or wrong, whether they're loud, whether they're this or that. And sometimes when they have a point, yeah, I think there's more strong women in in Trump's cabinet, assertive women in his cabinet than there were in the Democratic cabinet, right? Those ladies are conservative. That's the one thing. Let me just segue. That's the one big thing that we miss, that's missing in America. Conservative Black women. We need to find and build some conservative Black women, ones who have values, conservative values, are not intimidated by men being men, who want some traditions of the past, and more conservative traditions to build in the future, right? And I think some of that is going to happen because as the economy goes bad, and all the women who took solace and comfort in the Democrats and all the handout programs that they have, a lot of that's just going away. I think we're going to start hearing women talk about love again, talking about needing a man and a husband. We're going to hear a lot of that shit in the coming future while they're out there losing some of these jobs. And saying, damn, you know what? Shit, maybe it's not a bad idea to have a man in my life that ain't just a penis and some seed and a throwaway wallet. I think some of that, is coming. What's going on, Braxton? I think we're going to see that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Trey. No doubt. A lot of men are going to fall for that tactic, but it's coming, all right? Because they know that is true. That it's not that simple just to be a woman out here by yourself, especially when times are hard. So I think the narrative is going to start to change. I can see it coming. I could really see it coming. So that's where we are, man. There's a lot of shit going down, which is a good thing. I think we needed to have this transition so we know what not to do in the future. You know, that kind of stuff. What else do I think? I was thinking about. I want to make sure I get it right. Anyway, so here we go. I wanted to transition from just talking about. I wanted to put a little highlight into how things are going right now and what's made us transition. And if you look at the new DNC, I played this the other day. If you look at the DNC, they got a new chairman of the Democrat National Committee, and they had a whole meeting, a round table, not a round table, but a committee meeting to elect their leaders. And it was a pure shit show of, it was really a shit show. And so I'm going to show some of that just so we can get the contrast of where we get into this. Hey, listen, we know that the Democratic side, the liberal side, has a lack of masculinity in their leadership. But I got one more clip to kind of put some, to kind of nail that last nail in the coffin to show you that we don't need leaders like they're putting out in the Democratic Party. So I'm gonna show this last thing before I segue into why the conversation of masculinity or lack thereof in the Democratic Party is such a big thing. Okay, all right.
From their humiliating defeat at the last presidential election. We saw history repeat itself at the weekend, where a DNC official demanded that a non-binary person be voted into the vice president position of the organization.
Rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female.
Okay, so this is the president of the new DNC, right? So he has to explain to them that, the 1% of the population that they keep claiming has to have a seat at the table of the Democratic National Convention because they that 1% needs to be represented in leadership. And
the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous 4 elections, our elected officers are currently...
Hey, Trey, can you see yourself reading this shit in front of a crowd of people, man? With that little, with this little, ledger up here or the Zoom is here? Trey, what do you think you would look like saying this shit to everybody? How about you, Braxton? You want to read this shit?
2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. So again, this is what we have to do for this vice chair race. We have to elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. To ensure our process accounts for male, female, and non-binary candidates, we conferred with our RBC co-chair, our LGBT caucus co-chair, and others to ensure that the process is inclusive and meets the gender balance.
All right. So they keep claiming when they want to argue, 1% of the population, they say, is transgender. Okay. For 1% of the population, they have more juice and more penetration than almost any other so-called subgroup. Right? I remember back in the day, if you were black, you just wanted to live past the first 15 minutes in a horror movie if you're a black character. So these guys are not only 1% of the population, but they want people to change pronouns. They want to teach gender affirming gender transitions to children in the 1st and 2nd grades and 3rd grades. The USAID was exposed to sending hundreds of millions of dollars across the world to teach transgenderism and transgender experiments on animals and shit like that. I mean, it's just incredible. You know, what 1% are they talking about? You know, definitely it's like something that Hollywood is pushing, Democratic Plantation is pushing, and the men who serve them are pushing. Like this guy here, he needs to grow hair because he's making bald men look bad.
Requirements in our rules. To do this, our process will be slightly different than the one outlined to you earlier this week. But I hope you will see that in practice.
Okay, enough. So, you know, we got enough of this guy. All right, so you see what I'm saying, right? So that you know, the way these guys have been pushing the Biden administration was like the culmination of years and decades of this trashing of men and trashing of male masculinity and trying to turn men into some shit that we ain't. And that's why the damn country was in kind of turmoil, falling apart, because, you know, it's chaotic. You know, so this election that just came on had a spiritual component to it. It wasn't just ideology. It wasn't just politics. You know, it was more than that. It's just like, it was like, who was on God's side? Because I can't even think of, if you're really a Christian, how could you go for all of this shit? Right? That's what I'm saying. You know, if you're a real Christian, you believe in any of this word and all this, how could you actually go for any of this? Right? And it just doesn't make any sense to me. Right? So again, it's not, maybe it's, you're praying to somebody, but maybe it's not God. You know, maybe it's not. So recently, on a lot of national stage, they started asking people, well, what happened to the masculinity on the Democratic side? Is there masculinity left? Who in the leadership is masculine, you know, on the Democrat side? Is it Jeffries? Right? I mean, he's stumbling and bumbling every time I see a mic in front of him. You know, it's not like he's effeminate, but he doesn't seem assertive at all. Not to me. You know, I think Jasmine Crockett is the toughest man on the Democratic side right now. Right? So I want to play a little bit of, there's a sports announcer, a sportscaster. He has he used to own Outkick. And he was asked in a forum that one of the biggest problems that the Democrats have, he asked a question. He says, well, where's the masculinity in the Democratic Party? Where's the masculine men? And he said that the biggest problem that they have is that there's nobody to look up to as a masculine man who's standing on his square. And the ladies of the panel, they were like, because then he went, who is it, Pete Buttigieg? And the lady said, is that a homo? Are you doing a slur? Or Pete? And he just kept going. He didn't backtrack. He just kept going. He says, you know, show me who's the man. You know, and she was dumbfounded. She couldn't say anything. And so it got some national attention. And so I want to play something that Clay said. He could say it better than me. So like I said, I was just going to go through a few of these clips and just let the clip speak for me.
Had a discussion last night on their primetime show about my contention that there were no masculine men in the Democrat Party. And remember Congressman Seth Moulton? I think he's from like Salem, Massachusetts area. He came out and said, I got 2 daughters. I'm paraphrasing him. And it's basically crazy for them to be competing against dudes. And his chief of staff quit, and they have been protesting outside of his office since. Remember, only 2 Democrats in the House would vote against allowing men to compete against women. We know the data reflects that young men have overwhelmingly abandoned the Democrat Party. Okay. Then the next step is, what is your theory to analyze why that is? I think it's because they see the Democrat Party as a weak, anti-masculine party, and that isn't aspirational. If you're a 16-year-old boy, CNN had...
All right, so this was the panel at the top where he was when he first came up with this whole concept, and this is the panel of CNN. So I'm gonna touch on this one on the bottom later on, but this lady right next to him, man, she got in her panties, got in a bunch when he mentioned Pete Buttigieg as is he the masculine man that we're looking at? She said, "Is that a homosexual slur?" I thought that was pretty funny. Because clearly he was, he actually meant it like that, but he didn't want to say that. But yeah, it's not a slur. It's just true because who's the man? Who is the man there? Oh man, so that was funny. So anyway, I'm gonna just go ahead and drop the link for anybody who might want to show up a little bit. Anyway, so let's just go ahead down and just kind of go through some of the men who are starting to talk about masculinity. And I just want to share and let them speak for themselves, show some clips about that it's widespread. It's not just white men. And not just people who are not political. There's also the vice president talks about, right? The vice president talks about issue of masculinity, and he's talking directly to boys and young men, something that the Democrats.
You mentioned raising these children into good people and also into good citizens that can contribute to society and to the world. We had so many young people come out and support Donald Trump and J.D. Vance
and thank you.
This past election. So what is your message? And what is your message to the young men?
I guess my message to young people generally is we're trying to make your life better. And that is the simple thrust of President Trump's policy is we want you to be able to buy a home. We want you to be able to work a good job. We want you to be able to raise your kids, like I said, according to the values that you believe in. And we want you to be able to build a nice life in this country that all of us love. That is what we're trying to do. And, you guys more than anybody, more than me, I'm talking about people under the age of 30 in particular, you guys are going to have to deal with the consequences of good policy or of bad policy for much longer than the rest of us. And I want you guys to think about the future and ask yourself, do you want safe communities? Do you want a prosperous life? Do you want to be able to work a good job? Or do you want that job shipped off to China or somewhere else? We're fighting for you every single day. We want you to help fight for us because we've got to win. Not just the policy battles of the next couple of months. We've got to win the midterm elections in a couple of years. We need you. We recognize that we need you, and we're fighting for you every single day. And I think, you asked me, my message to young men is I think that our culture sends a message to young men that you should suppress every masculine urge. You should try to cast aside your family. You should try to suppress what makes you a young man in the first place. And I think that my message to young men is don't allow this broken culture to send you a message that you're a bad person because you're a man, because you like to tell a joke, because you like to have a beer with your friends, or because you're competitive. It's our message, the cultural message, and I think the president's and mine is the exact opposite, but our cultural message is, I think that it wants to turn everybody, whether male or female, into androgynous idiots who think the same, talk the same, and act the same. We actually think God made male and female for a purpose, and we want you guys to thrive as young men and as young women, and we're going to help with our public policy to make it possible to do that.
All right, man. So, what do you think? Oh, you there? Yeah. All right. What do you think, man? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think so far, man?
I mean, this is what we voted for, right? This is what we wanted. We wanted the insertion of masculinity back into families, right? Leadership back into families, right? We wanted you know, morals, we wanted standards, values, right? We wanted to get certain things out of out of schools, and we wanted to get back to having two genders and 130. I mean, everything he said is correct. And the part I love the most that he said is, the younger ones, you're gonna have to deal with this stuff longer than anybody.
Right.
So if we don't get it right now for y'all, you're the ones that, you guys turning 18, in the next election cycle, you're the ones who have to put up with it for the longest. So it's imperative that we get it right. I don't have any issues with what he said. I know that liberals and Democrats are losing their minds because it feels like we're going back to the Stone Age. But tell me what's worked. All this liberal change, all this progressive stuff. What's worked? Are we better off now? Because according to the statistics, we're not.
No.
Right? People are in debt more than they've ever been. Families are more broken than they've ever been. Nobody's getting married. People are barely even going out on dates, right? Like everything is worse than what it once was. And I'll be damned if there's a politician who says, well, why don't we, because you guys love to do this. I'm all about moving forward and letting it be. But most people will say to me, well, we need to go back to the way it was. Okay, well, these guys fit the JD and Trump fit exactly what you're looking for then. They want to take it back to a time where, where things were a lot simpler.
Well, yeah, no, it's simpler, and even though there's some things that must change because of the amount of women who are in the workforce, right? There's got to be. I don't want to even use the word concession. There's got to be a realization that if you have a degree and you're working a 9 to 5, or you're working 80 hours every a pay period, or 40, 50 hours a week, that the home life couldn't be the same as the traditional home life if you had a stay-at-home woman, right? So you got to have some compromises there. If the money, but it's no, my money is my money and your money is our money. That kind of shit is stupid, right? So guys who still really believe in that's dumb. But I think even with this election, I think it was a hidden underlying thing of what we're talking about, masculinity, that won the election because men left in droves to vote for Trump. But I guess it's starting to come out now why they lost, the masculinity part of it. The discussion is happening more and more now. And if you actually, the question that was asked, well, who is the masculine leader of the Democratic Party? And Stephen A. Smith?
They don't have one.
They don't have one.
They don't have one.
They absolutely don't have one. And they got loudmouths, AOC and Jasmine Crockett just chirping away at every old thing. Or it's Maxine Waters and
Maxine Waters, I'm a firm believer that there needs to be term limits and age limits in politics. And Maxine Waters is expired. You know what Maxine Waters is going to be remembered for? I'm reclaiming my time. That's what people are going to remember her for. That's what she's going to be remembered for. I'm reclaiming my time. A catchy little phrase that she said. Not the years and years of public service. No, if you were to go ask a millennial or a Gen Zer who this person, if you were to hold a picture up and say, who is this person? They first are going to call her auntie.
Right.
They're going to call her auntie, and then they're going to say, what is she most famous for? They're going to say, I'm reclaiming my time.
So I'm still going through this transition of these conversations about male masculinity. So I found this content creator. He's a young man. He's got to be, he's in high 20s or lower 30s. But I think he's really good. I was going to play a clip. He got like a 10-minute clip, and he goes through some of the things we talked about. But his presentation is really good. So I was going to just play and go through that. And hey, man, Edom Man Williams, what's going on, man? The link is in the chat if you wanted to come up. It's in there somewhere. You'll find it. It's not too far going. You know Edom Man, right? Yeah, of course you do. Let me see. There it is, this guy. Let me play this guy a little bit.
This panel slams the Democrat Party for being too feminine. They talk about how Democrats are struggling with young voters, specifically young men, and highlight that the Democrat Party has no masculine men. I mean, they're right, but it's always funny to hear CNN have to actually admit that the Democrat Party sucks. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but we have to start with this Democrat Congresswoman highlighting perfectly why men do not align with the Democrat Party by saying that manufacturing is sexist because it has man in the name.
Yesterday, I met with a manufacturing company, but they also are engaged in getting young people more engaged in manufacturing. So I asked them, so how many of those students that are signing up and want to do this, how many are women? And they said, well, I know there's at least 13% or something. It was a low number. And you had mentioned trying to engage more women in manufacturing. I'm just wondering if just the name manufacturing sounds like a guy.
This is the kind of woke lunacy that ruined the Democrat Party in the first place. And they're surprised that these constant demonizing attacks on men and masculinity are causing men to leave. It's like Democrats paint men to be these vicious, violent, unstable animals. And peak manhood is this feminized, submissive, docile, unconfrontational soy boy. They brought out the least man's man, Tim Walz, to rally men in support of Kamala Harris. They promote manhood as aligning yourself with the plights of radical feminists and looking to your woman for direction and leadership at every turn. And again, they're surprised that men don't want to subscribe to that kind of ideology, especially young men who are ambitious and aspirational. Most guys aren't trying to strive to be the puppy dog walking behind their woman. Now let's get to the CNN panel slamming the
Let me stop it for a second. So what do you think about this guy, man, so far? He's on point, man.
Yeah. He hasn't missed yet so far. Yeah.
He is. Yeah, but
I mean, you know what's interesting to me is that all the things that are going on in the world today. Like seriously, like you got Gaza and the whole issue there. You got Zelensky showing his ass in the Oval Office. You know what I mean? Like, we got all these things that are happening, these really important things that are happening, and they talking about whether or not the prefix man should be like where's the focus, man? Like, where's the focus on things that are actually important out of this party, man? Like, changing the names of things is not going to change anything. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, man. Oh man, all right. So this with those that I know what he's talking about, but let's go ahead and continue to see what my man has to say about this.
Democrats for exactly what I said. Watch.
Those numbers that you just read, it's been happening for 10 years. This has been happening slowly but surely over time. I think that pollster in that clip earlier had said 2 out of 6 moderate men voted for Trump. Sorry, it was the majority of moderate men voted for Trump. Even over 20% of liberal men voted for Trump. There has been what is seen as I don't want to say a war on masculinity, but there has been this trend in the Democratic Party, or it's at least felt that the left is becoming more and more hostile to the things that are typically men. And you've seen John Fetterman talk about this idea of like patronizing, calling them bros, or that ad that looked like a spoof at the end of the race of like, real men do this. It's like, have you ever talked to a dude in your life? So in James Carville saying, we need to have less like yappy voices and more men talking. And there are many men in the Democratic Party.
Democratic messaging is too feminine.
A perfect example of how the Democrats casted aside men was when they made the spokesperson of Bud Light, a traditionally manly man's working class beer, Dylan Mulvaney, a transgender male weirdo. Men are much less likely to want to play around in the Democrats' made-up fairy tale world activity. So when men were told, if you don't believe this and support this and think it's ambitious and brave and real, you're some sort of bigot fascist, guys were like, call me whatever you want. I just know I don't support this. And to his point about squeaky voices, let's listen to the newly elected vice chair of the DNC give a rallying call to the crowd. And you let me know if you're inspired after this.
Who's ready to take the fight to the Republicans and win this thing? Are you guys ready to fight? It's been a long day, but guess what? We have a long road ahead. Let's go and kick some ass. Let's go win our young people back, and let's stop sending just our thoughts and prayers to address gun violence and do something. Are you ready to do that? Because together, we can make school shooter drills history and not headlines. Are you ready to do that? Together, we can address the housing crisis and so many other issues of our time that are affecting our young people. Because tonight, Malcolm and I won with your support. Thank you so much. You guys rock. And thank you again to Jamie. Thank you to Justin. Give a round of applause to Justin Pearson. And all my friends in the young Dems, the college Dems, the high school Dems. I love you guys so much. I could go on and on. Let's go party.
It's like all the wimpy men who hate traditional masculinity because it makes them feel excluded and feel bad about themselves, all find safe haven in the Democrat Party, where they're told and patted on their head, no, it's okay. Masculinity is whatever you want it to be. They refuse to admit that men and women are different, and that's evident in their radical gender ideology, but they refuse to accept that men are more physical. We're more.
You know, and one of the things I wanted to stop, I'm gonna let him go, is that, again, you know, this is the male side of it. We kind of know the woman side of it, right? The being on the plantation, because that's where all of the coddling, the affirmations, the security blanket lies on the Democrat side. But this is getting a glimpse of why would a man who is masculine want to stay on that plantation when they're like second fiddle to what's going on? They're not really in a driver's seat, so they don't have to take the bows and arrows, because they're throwing their women out front. Let them get the bows and arrows, and you know, maybe we'll take up the rear if it gets to us. You know what I'm saying? It's like opposite, right? So I don't want to like throw the boulders at the 80% of the men who stayed on the plantation. Maybe it's not the same reason that the women stayed on the plantation, who never, black women especially, who will never leave. But it's like, you know, it's like that safety blanket, and I guess there's a blanket of racism as an excuse for not succeeding. That's why a lot of men stay over there. As long as we can blame our failures on the fact that we need DEI, we need this. I don't know. What do you say? I'm just kind of rambling. I'm trying to figure out the reason why so many black men will stay on that plantation.
Because they're henpecked and son husband. That's why. That's why. Look at a lot of these families that black men are in. You're going to see it's a matriarch. My family is a matriarchy. Well, I'll take it was a matriarchy until I got out of the military. Then when I came home, and I pretty much was just like, yeah, we're done following the women in this family. Like, I pretty much got to put my foot down, and it did not go over well.
So easy. Yeah,
it did not go over well. Like I was uninvited to some things, some family functions, because I wanted to do different things for our family. I wanted to bring back family reunions. We hadn't had a family reunion. I wanted to, we need to start contacting family members. I wanted to travel for holidays, you know what I mean? And I wanted to do a lot of different things, bring back some traditions that we had that we no longer had anymore, right? Under the leadership of the women in my family. So you have a lot of people, a lot of black men who vote because you've seen it. As a matter of fact, didn't you guys show the video of the black mom who said, "I told you to vote for Biden"? Didn't I tell you? I told you. Yeah, like that's the world that they live in. It's like, oh, I'm telling you what to do. You're gonna do what I told you to do, versus be a man and actually make a decision based on what's good for you and what's good for your family.
Right.
And I for one cannot understand any black man who didn't vote for Trump. It don't make no sense to me. Knowing what you know about the Harris Waltz campaign and what they were attempting to do with emasculating men and all that, how could you even vote? And it just goes to show me that we still have a high number of Black men who are son, husband, and henpecked.
It's just no doubt about it. I mean, even if you use the excuse that there's one or two things on the Democratic side that you like, that's not the way votes mean. If you vote a candidate, you got to get it all. You get it all. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not, it would be nice if you can pick and choose like a line item veto. I like the Democrats for A, B, and C, but all the rest of the alphabet is the alphabet, you know, and it's bad. But if you vote a Democrat in, you have to get it all. If the far left runs that party, you're voting in all of that bullshit. And I couldn't see how many. So when they started saying, well, you didn't vote for Kamala because it's racism or it's misogyny, that's bullshit. You know, I mean, it really is. I mean, because it's all of these other things, and not to mention the immigration policy. I mean, come on.
Most the Black men, the 20% of us that did not vote for Kamala, is because we believe that she's unfit. She was unfit. Plain and simple.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to come down to anything else. It doesn't have to get deeper than that. It's very simple that we believe that she was unfit to do the job, and that her answers. You have to understand something. When you're talking to men, we just want an answer. If I ask you what's 1 + 1, I don't need to know the arithmetic behind it. I just need you to say 2, and so we can move on.
Absolutely.
But when you can't give straight answers, and I think she lost a lot of Black men. She certainly, like I said before, I would have been happy to vote Democrat had she actually had some balls and did the things she was supposed to do as a vice president, which was invoke the 25th Amendment. Had she said, look, this old motherfucker can barely ride a bike and go up the stairs. I'm invoking the 25th, and I'm calling on Congress and the Senate to back me on this because he can't do the job. I would have said, you know what, she might be a little bit tougher than I gave her credit for. You know what I mean? But the fact that she came out, she backed him, and then she basically lied because she knew he wasn't fit to do the job. And then 2 weeks later said, I'm running, tells me everything I need to know. Yeah, this is some old backstabbing. I'm gonna tell you what I want you to hear, Democrats. The typical nonsense. I'm gonna tell you what you want to hear. And then when you vote for me, I'm gonna pull a rug from under. Barack Obama did the same thing. Hope this, hope that. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Hope this. And as soon as he got in the office, he pulled the rug pull from under you. I'm gonna help the gay community.
He was a big advocate. That was his legacy is the alphabet mafia.
More brutish. We like sports. We like UFC. We like shooting guns. We like fast cars. We like violent video games. And there's nothing wrong with that. But Democrats insist the peak version of a man is something that basically resembles a woman. Now, they talk about Trump's defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, who was in Germany for a NATO meeting and actually did workouts with the soldiers, saying this is why men like the Republican Party. Watch.
It is true that Democrats have a problem, especially with young men. I mean, that is a real fact.
So to me, that in a way it validates what Clay Travis is talking about, because if you're trying to get young men, you're not going to get them on all policy points and all the. No, Joe Rogan knows karate, and sometimes he talk about drugs. That's good enough for me. Pete Hegseth was in Germany this week doing squats with like 220 on the bar outside for no reason. That's what the Democrat. I'm
think
silly, but
and you know what?
serious.
One of the other points that Clay Travis made, and I think this is true. We saw this in real time when Trump had the assassination attempt in Butler. That image of him raising his fist and saying "fight, fight, fight" was like a shot of testosterone in the arms of a lot of men. Mark Zuckerberg was like, "Oh my God, he's so cool."
And
now look at where we are politically with some of these very people really turning politically toward Trump.
Yes, as much as the Democrats hate it, there's a reason that the term a man's man exists, because men respect and gravitate towards a strong leader. And obviously Trump is old. He's not like a shredded gym bro. But the fact that Trump took a bullet to the face, stood up, raised his hand, and yelled fight shows a level of bravery and courage that all men respect. Guys like Joe Rogan, because his podcast emulates the conversations that we have when we're getting together for drinks, history, conspiracy theories. Do aliens exist? Sports, politics. Pete Hegseth hitting deadlifts in the snow with soldiers is badass. It's like they're so surprised that guys like guy stuff.
Let me stop for a second. Hey, you know, one of the things about Trump has some real watershed moments, right? Especially not just the assassination attempt, but also when he had that last advertiser said, "They're for they them, and I'm for you." When he had the two killer clowns, whatever the hell they call themselves, man, he had some really good marketing shit, man, that they couldn't compete with, you know, and because it was real. I mean, it's just a lot of real shit there. And I had a theory though, and I don't know if you were here at the time. Maybe you were. I have a feeling that a lot of black women don't like Trump because he's an unapologetic man. You know, I'm not the only reason. I think that's part of it.
I certainly believe that it is part of it. I think that a lot of black women don't like Trump because he represents a sort of restrictive nature. That if men are going to be the men of old, that means that we can't do the things that we like to do.
No,
I think that no matter how destructive those things may be, no matter how they don't care. We have to remind ourselves that women don't care if they run fast and drive a car off a bridge. They don't care. If they're angry enough to do it, they're just going to do it. That's just how they think. So Trump to them represents restriction. Like it's like we're going backwards. That's how they say it. We're going backwards now rather than going forward. But I wanted to speak to something that they were talking about men being men. And I was going to use Barack Obama. You know why a lot of black men like Barack Obama? He played basketball.
Yeah, because he
played ball.
Yeah.
He does a man thing.
Yeah.
This is why a lot of black men identified with him because we could identify with hooping.
Right.
He hoops.
Yeah.
He might be the first president ever that hoops. I can identify with that, right? He also smoked Newports. I don't smoke, but
yeah,
black men could identify with that. And so you see people trying to make the connection with Trump. I can connect with Trump. I play golf. I love golf. Well, Trump is a golf guy. Right. So people are trying to make the connection. And when they see your health secretary is a gym rat, right? RFK is a gym rat, and he's in shape, right? Versus what you had before that. You had a overweight trans running the health department. You got the Secretary of State is over there doing deadlifts and working out with soldiers. Yes, biologically ingrained in us as men is we want to do man shit. Let's just keep it honest. We want to shoot things. We want to be in. And this is why I say a lot of times people don't realize how boys are raised versus girls. When we grew up, even in your time, our Payne and in mine, we were raised on competition. Everything is a competition. Everything's a competition. Girls are not raised on competition. They are now more than they ever have before because they're playing a lot more sports. But girls typically are not raised on competition, right? So they don't get it that we always are competing against each other. So we're going to identify with people who compete, right? So when you see a guy like Trump, who says, he tells the Zelensky, you're going to start World War III, and you better do this. And we identify with stuff like that because that's the competitive juices that's inside of us, and we want more of that. And I'm telling you, the Democratic Party better get this shit figured out. They better get it figured out too. They better have Hakeem Jeffries and some other people out there doing push-ups and running some miles and gains and get something that has some testosterone involved. And I'm serious. You better go out and go shoot some guns.
Something. And don't fumble around, don't fake it. You got to be real too.
You better go do something because I agree with this young man here. They are losing the votes of young black male voters and just young voters. Because here's the other part of this too. Young girls are attracted to masculinity.
Yes.
These 20-year-old girls, they don't want pushover men. I'm telling you, I'm on the dating scene. They will tell you, no, I want a man who leads. I want a man who does. Go on TikTok and look at these videos of these girls.
Oh yeah, they're coming up.
He didn't call and make the arrangement. I had to do it. They don't want that anymore. They want the leader. They want the guy to say, hey, be ready at 7:30, wear a red dress, put your hair up. That's what they want. Well, that's a part of masculinity. That's leadership. And
Right.
even the girls are saying, this is what we want, which is why you have 55% of white women voting for Trump, because that's what they want. They want more of that. So all of this stuff, it's all tying into, and I think you're hitting on something big here, our Payne, is that this is a war on masculinity, and Trump winning we dodged a huge bullet by Harris.
Big time, man.
We dodged a
Big time.
huge bullet by her not getting elected. Trump being elected is the first thing, and I'm hoping that JD Vance will carry it on after him. We'll see how that goes, but it's a step in the right direction.
Right. But you know what, though, Trey, one of the things that I figured out with the Zelensky, I did a reaction video to that on my channel, to that whole thing. And even though I agree with Vance, and I think one of the reasons that should have never happened, because I think they were overconfident that he was going to come rubber stamp, and he did, and he okey doked them. And so I'm concerned that a little bit of hubris is kind of setting in with all their momentum. They're thinking that they can't make a mistake, right? So I think that they should have had something signed before they had that press conference, because they were just going to have the press conference and then like lunch afterwards, because then Zelensky throws that monkey wrench at him in front of the American population, knowing that 80% of the media is going to eat that shit up, right? Maybe 90% of the media who hates Trump. So I just think that they got to guard against hubris, because the midterms, he has to win the midterms. He can't, if he loses both the House and the Senate, they're going to impeach him. That's the first thing they're going to do, whether he did something wrong or not. They're going to just have some kangaroo shit to get him out of there. So anyway, so he can't get overconfident. I want to finish this guy. He got one more segment. Let's just go ahead and do it.
And that couldn't be more evident as Carrie Champion chimes in and scoffs, you men are just something else.
What do you think is the masculinity that they are attracted to in Trump?
I'm laughing.
I gotta say this. I think Abby Phillips is a very pretty woman.
I think, because no disrespect.
I don't like what's coming out of her mouth, but she's just a cutie pie, man.
Makeup and weave.
Men on this panel.
but
you men are.
You think she turns into the lady from I Gotta Get You
Makeup and weave.
Something.
But you know what? This is a prime example. This is a prime example of how black men get fooled. Makeup and weave. Carrie Champion is the same way. Makeup and weave. That's all it says. It's constant makeup and weave. Take that weave out their hair. Take that makeup off. Take those lashes off, and you got gremlins. That's what you got.
And I can see the appeal of Donald Trump being a very strong masculine man, and I can see him winning over men, because I do agree the Democratic Party, for all intent and purpose, felt like a place for the others, and they tried to take on every issue that the Republicans didn't want. If you want to talk about trans, come here. If you want to talk about LGBTQIA, come here. If you want to talk about men and women, in sports, come here. There were all of these things that I felt men wanted to say felt emasculating. It felt like, I'm not with that. I don't believe in that. And I'm going to go over here because they're saying what I'm thinking.
And the abortion issue played a role in that. I mean, I think they did a political calculation.
And I think no one cared about abortion.
The big thing.
I think no one cared about it.
The Democrats made themselves about these sorry, sappy, weird crybaby issues and told men what we call masculinity over here is standing up and fighting for the rights of teenagers to be able to take puberty blockers. Republicans told men, we appreciate strong, hardworking men who want to provide for their families, and we're going to help give you an economy that'll allow you to do so. They told men, we want to lower crime, give you safe streets for your family to enjoy. They told men, we want to protect your kids and stop their teachers from talking to them about sex and encouraging them to switch genders. So obviously the men picked the clear, rational choice, and then the Democrat response was to call them a misogynist if they didn't vote for Kamala Harris. It's like you have to stop and hold your breath for a second when CNN gives these occasional blips of common sense. And you get worried for a second, are the Democrats going to figure it out? But then you're reassured by people like that Congresswoman who are still hell-bent on following the woke playbook and calling words like manufacturing sexist because they're not more inclusive. And I'm reminded that our opposition is a lost cause and the Republicans have this in the bag for quite a while. But let me
Yeah, well, well, yeah, that could be true, but let's not get too overconfident. That's all I'm saying. But I like that guy, man. I don't know how he just came up on my feed, and I said, "Wow, this guy, he's got some things going." So I've seen a few of his videos. He's on point, man. He's some new words out there. That's good. See a young guy making it. He's got, I think he got like 100,000 subs or some shit like that, maybe a little bit more. Anyway, what else do I have on the docket? So I wanted to show him, but now there's a spiritual part to this. There's a religious part to this, and you heard of Jamal Bryant, right? They got a pastor who comes at Jamal Bryant and how he sullies the pulpit with his bullshit, right? So this is a pastor, and he doesn't necessarily talk, masculinity, but you can hear the masculinity's point. His point of view comes from a God-centric point of view. And what's Boss Man saying? Okay. Who is he arguing?
He's upset that I called his wife ugly, but they're making a point. They're making my point. They think that, like I said, they think makeup and weave makes a woman attractive, and it doesn't. And when you're married to a woman, on their face, that's why you would think they were attractive. So it makes perfect sense. I'm not gonna back down from it. Black men have no standard when it comes to women. None. There is. Y'all will literally take whatever you can get. Literally.
So
that disgusting.
I'd like to think I have this radar that can see through the makeup and say, maybe there's not a troll underneath there, but I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. So yeah, black men generally, I think we're just starting to get standards. But I want to show, you ever heard of this is a Pastor Woodson that I wanted to show, because he talks about the difference between being not a Republican Democrat, but he kind of put the question out there, how could you be a Christian and believe the shit that the Democrats believe in? Because it's not even scriptural, right? Any of it. So I think it was a little point. He has a lot of good points. I just want to play that, and we can stop and start that like I'm doing everything else. So these clips are usually my guests when there's nobody else around. All right, so let's listen to this brother. This is courtesy of another guy.
Get out of there, Negro, and stand with your people so that you understand that God is on our side.
All right, stop right there. That's Jamal Bryant in Atlanta berating African Americans who went to the White House to celebrate Black History Month with the president. So he told the Negro to get out of there and go stand with your people. Now, if one time they were trying to put out that President Trump canceled Black History Month. You know he canceled Black History Month, don't you? You know black folk will believe anything. Anything you just tell us, the sky's falling. Duck it. Berating African Americans who went to the White House to celebrate Black History Month with the president. So he told the Negro to get out of there and go stand with your people so you will know that God is on our side. Now, if one time they were trying to put out that President Trump canceled Black History Month. You know he canceled Black History Month, don't you? You know black folk will believe anything. Anything you just tell us, the sky is falling. You go start ducking. Listen, these are the same people who are for diversity. Watch this word, inclusion and equity. Now, if you're going to be inclusive, Dr. Jamal Bryant, does that mean that you ought to include black people who aren't Democrats? Are we actually in a place where the only way you can be black and stand with your people is to be a Democrat? Now, if that's where we are, we're the dumbest people on the face of the planet, and we're the only people in America who operate that way. You can be white and be a Republican or a Democrat, Hispanic and be a Republican or a Democrat. Praise the Lord. Whatever, and be a Republican or a Democrat. But if you're black, the only way you can be an authentic black person is to be a Democrat. That's stupid. And you know what it means? It means that explains why we spend half the time, or maybe even more, out of power. I've said for years, we need to operate politically, and I want to make this clear, in a way where both parties will compete for our vote. When one party knows that they're going to get your vote no matter what, you get nothing from that party. When another party knows that they're not going to get your vote no matter what, you get nothing from that party. So then you end up in no man's land.
I just wanted to stop that there for a second. I got to sit there and I have to take a bow, because a couple of years ago when I came here, I used to say the same thing almost every time. I said, this is where we're stuck, because we give all our votes to one party. So it was good to hear a preacher say what I said.
We are not married to the Democrat Party. People have a right to choose. And if you choose to be a Democrat, if you choose to be a Republican, if you choose to be independent, as I am, that doesn't make you more black nor less black. It means you're an American participating in the process. And God is on our side. Now, if we want to talk about whose side God is on, it's the Democrats who are pushing same-sex marriage. It's the Democrats who are pushing letting children get mutilated, little 8-year-old boys getting turned into girls. It's the Democrats who are 100% in their platform behind abortion and abortion rights up till the time of birth. If we start talking about whose side God is on, you got to dismiss most of the scripture to be a Democrat. Well, there are other things. What other things? What's more important than life? Trump ain't no good. Yeah, but he signed an executive order to protect Christians. He's no good, but the polls show that Christianity now has leveled off and is going back on the rise again since he's been in office. You just got to do your homework. Now you start talking about whose side God is on. Now the question not whose side God is on. The question is the question Moses asked: who's on the Lord's side? It's not whether or not God's on your side. The question is, are you on the Lord's side?
I'm on a mute. It's just so many just so many different reasons why I think we're so upside down as a people on how we vote and how we think. I mean, some of this is just common sense. I mean, at one point, the Democratic Party was a little bit different in terms of the far left didn't run everything, right? They had some centrists on the Democratic Party. I guess until Barack Obama became an advocate for the alphabet community and changed things forever, right? And some of the arguments on their side is that they're only 1% of the population, but for 1% of the population, they wield a big ass stick. Well, at least they used to until Trump got in. So all I hope now is that Trump sticks around long enough for this shit to solidify, and it gotta be past his term. Like a JD Vance has to get in there and at least give us like 12 to 16 years of normalcy coming back into the American population. Maybe marriages will pick up. Maybe they'll change some marriage laws. Get people like some of these other people out of the way. So anyway, so that's what I'm looking for in the future. So I just wanted to end with this pastor because I think that he said it best a little bit. He said, "Hey, listen, it's a spiritual thing to this." Now, he didn't say masculinity specifically, but you could tell he's coming from a masculine standpoint because he's for the natural order of things. I do have one more that I wanted to play. I do have one more clip that I wanted to play, and I think it's a good clip. It's a real short clip, and it's from somebody I think we all know. We haven't seen him in a while, but he puts this natural order thing into a perspective that I think anybody could understand. And I agree with him. So this one will come from...
I disagree with you so much on this, but go ahead.
No, but before I say it, you want to say it or you want to talk about it afterward?
No, we can talk about it afterwards. I disagree. People want to say this is a spiritual thing. This is not a spiritual thing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, make sure you hold that thought. Let's come back to it. All right, let's come back to it. This is what I wanted to play. I guess we could just go ahead and play this.
I ain't seen Trigger Mike in a minute.
Yeah, I want to hit this.
I want to explain the order of family for a second because I think it's a concept that a lot of people not only disagree with, but have a bit of trouble grasping. All right. The order of family is that the man is the head of the family. And the reason this might seem like such a struggle in society is because a lot of men struggle with the pressure of being the head, and a lot of women struggle because they believe they're better than second best. So I want to take a moment and explain why the order of family is man, woman, child, or if you are religious, God, man, woman, child. The order of family is such that the man is placed at the head of the family because he's the only one that can pass grace downward and remain emotionally unaffected. What I mean by that is a man can go to work and produce and take the entirety of his production, pass it down to everyone, the woman, the child, and the community, and not change how he feels about them. He won't feel as though he resents them. Okay. A woman can actually take her grace and pass it down to another woman or to her children and remain unaffected. But she cannot pass grace upward to a man. She will disrespect that man. She will resent him. She will eventually hate him because a woman cannot take care of an able-bodied man. So that is why the man is the head of the family, because he's the only one that can take his grace, pass it down, and still love everyone the same way. Hope that explains it better for you.
What do you think about that?
It's hard to disagree. I mean, it's hard to disagree. I mean, listen, I think we have to get to a point. I'm a firm believer in, I don't believe that politics should be in religious spaces. If I was in that church and he starts to go into this diatribe about politics, I would just get up and leave. I don't believe they decide they need to be together. I think this is something that the Black church has hung on to, and it has not worked. Also, we need to recognize that people are getting away from religion.
Oh yeah.
We need to accept that people are not, they don't believe what they once believed, and their actions and behaviors are showing that. And so this is why I say this is not a spiritual, this has nothing to do with spirituality at all. This is a war of ideologies.
Ideology first, okay.
This is a war of ideologies. And when we try to involve the spiritual realm, it just doesn't work. Because you will have people, and I am one of those people who will tell you straight to your face, I don't give a damn about your God. I don't care. And that's gonna hurt some feelings. Because we come from a time where you didn't disrespect somebody's religion. You didn't say things like that. But now going forward in 2025, if you start to pull that Sky Daddy mess on me, I'm gonna hurt your feelings. And I'm going to challenge you on everything that you claim to be. People are not Christians. Stop calling yourself a Christian and you don't do not a goddamn thing that's Christian-like. Stop saying it. And then want to run to the Bible and say, well, we all sin and we all fall short of its glory and blah, blah, blah. You got an excuse for everything. Built-in excuses because it's in the book that was written by man, by the way.
Right.
You got so this is not a spiritual thing. I'm sick of hearing it. At the end of the day, this is a war on who thinks they're right? And it's not even about morals, because people will say, well, religion is immoral. So this is not even about morality, so to speak. This is about people and what they think and what they think the right way is going forward. And that's why I said I'm glad you brought this up, because I am a firm believer that if you want to get this country back on track, you're going to need men to do it. And I'm not talking, I'm not talking about rainbow wearing, skirt pushing, bundles of sticks. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about masculine men who are willing to sacrifice potentially their lives if need be. I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope it never comes to that, but potentially need be to get this country back on the right track. And more than likely, we probably won't. Because if J.D. Vance doesn't get in there next, you can forget about it. We're going to go right back to where we were from 2020 to 2024. Right back in it. The fact of the matter is, whether women like it or not, y'all are not capable of leading because things get real soft and hairy when y'all are in charge. And there's no consistency. And there's an inability to make hard decisions, tough decisions. You are always trying to please people. You guys are people pleasers by nature, by biology. Whereas this is why a lot of y'all don't like Trump, because Trump will tell you go fuck yourself. He don't care. You don't like that. So no, I'm sorry. I get it. At the same time, I get it, but I don't like it. I think as much as the Black community is beholden to the Democratic Party, we also need to stop being beholden to politics and religion and meshing the two together. We need to separate those and let politics be politics, and let your religion and your spirituality and your beliefs be just that.
Listen, I hear, I don't have any argument with what you just said. I mean, I just wanted to kind of show it because we do have a lot of people who are tied to their spirituality. The one thing I give Woodson is that, he was just kind of in the backdrop of what Jamal Bryant was saying. He has his point, but then somebody could come at him as well. I think religion should be agnostic in terms of politics should be agnostic when it comes to spirituality and religion. It shouldn't have anything to do with it. And that's why we had the country set up that way. But Trump did sign that order, but that's only because it was almost taboo to be a Christian, right? You couldn't even say Christmas on the airwaves, So anyway, but that was it, man. I just wanted to show a couple of things. I thought Trigger Mike's thing is right, because I think men are selfless that way. I had a conversation with my daughter, she said, well, we talked about that a little bit, but in general, I think men are selfless like that. I mean, we live based on purpose, whatever your purpose might be. I think men strive on having a purpose to try to achieve something to always reach for. We were talking about who lives longer. She said, well, I heard that, single women live longer than married women. I said, I'd like to see the statistics on that, because all I know is a whole lot of women outlive their husbands. You know what I'm saying? So if single women live longer than their husband, than married women, I'd like to see the stats. And if it's it can't be more than a year or two, if that, because women outlive their men anyway.
Yeah, even all these stats, like when they start to do this, like who lives longer, it's not by like 15, 20, 25 years. It's like 4, 5 years. Like, oh, big deal. You got married. So because they'll say that men who are married live longer than single men. And when you look at the ages, it's like 4 years.
Yeah. But
he got
Trey, I have a theory for this. So check my theory. Because we hit that one too. I said, well, men tend to live longer when we're married, because a dedicated man who has a wife, children that's grown, his purpose is still alive. I think his purpose keeps him driven. He wants, you want to see as much of that as you possibly can. So if you have a wife and children and you have a purpose-filled life, you actually would rather. Some of the men are starting to stay in shape better now, later on in life. Like me, I need to get my ass to the gym because my pension is so good. I want to take that shit for. I wish it could last for a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? Shoot. So men who have purpose tend to live longer.
Listen, I have breakfast with veterans every morning, and 3 of them are 88 years old. 3 of them are 88 years old. And the fact of the matter is that if you take care of yourself, you eat well, you exercise, you'll be all right. And one of them he's a widower. His wife just died. The other one is married, and then one was married like 3 times, like 50 years ago. He ain't been married in like 5 decades. So he's not even trying to get married. And so if you take what I see every morning with these guys is if you take care of themselves, take care of yourselves, you'll be just fine. But what we see oftentimes is, and I've said this before, you see majority of married men, look at the picture of when they got married, the day they got married versus what they look like now.
Yeah.
Typically they're bigger, fatter, overweight, they're lazier, and all this other stuff. It takes nothing away from what they provide for their family, but their personal health is declining, and it's declining because there's a comfort level in getting married. And a lot of guys feel like, oh, I don't have to put in the work anymore. I don't have to do these things. When in actuality, your life still does continue. And there is such a thing as gray divorce. And a lot of people getting divorced over the age of 50. So you need to be in the gym, and you need to be watching your diet. As a matter of fact, the older you get, the more important, you should be paying attention to your diet.
I can definitely agree with the sentiments of ensuring that you maintain yourself while you are in marriage. Good evening to you, R. Payne.
What's going on, man? What's happening?
I'm doing all right.
I heard you was a little under the weather for a little while there, man.
No, not under the weather. Because of the condition that I have, sometimes it takes its toll. But I appreciate the concern there, sir. I take an impromptu moment to come in and have a conversation with Trey directly here, sir. So I come here to help my brother here, Trey, with a complication he's having. With
you can't help me with anything.
Yes, I can.
There's not one thing you can help me with.
No, I come here to help you with an issue you're having.
You can't help me with anything.
You with a problem that you're having with being. I come here to help you with being correct.
You're not
and being correct.
You're not qualified to help me with anything.
Oh, obviously I am, because apparently you have a problem being. You have a problem with being direct when it comes to
What have I not been direct about?
Being
I don't
direct.
Like you. I don't like you. I don't like.
I don't care that you don't. I do not care.
I'm being direct. I'm being direct.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I want you to be direct. I want you to be.
I don't like your beard of a wife. I don't like any of it. I don't want you here. I've made that very clear.
Okay, so here we go. And I don't give a shit. I don't care that you don't want me here because you don't have a say here.
No, you're right.
And the fact that you think
we're wasting time.
No, we're not. And the fact that you think it is okay to bring someone's wife and to bring someone's child into a situation that is between you and me as men.
What child? What child?
My child. My children.
What did I say about your children?
your entire 3-part montage that you were too much of a bitch to actually keep up, that you decided to delete recently.
What did I say about your children? Yes, because I'm moving on to something different. I don't want to do that type of content, so I'm going to put something else out. I'm going.
Well,
to
if
go,
you didn't want to do it, then you
fight.
should. Then you shouldn't have had the lack of a backbone to actually post it. But
I
a
do.
beard of a wife. My wife never said anything about you.
I don't give a fuck if she said anything about me or not. I'm talking about your wife. And
Exactly. And the reason being, this was between me and you. So why would you bring somebody else's wife into the shit?
No. I brought your wife into it because of what she said.
Exactly. So you just said that my wife had nothing to do with this, but then again, you decided to bring her into it. Why? Because it's between me and you. So again, you are a bitch to bring somebody else's wife into this shit.
Okay. Well, I can be whatever I want to be.
Exactly. So the person who is the supposed epitome of a man is acting more like a bitch than the person who you call less than a man.
You calling me?
Oh, come on.
Change anything? You're the one with nails on.
I don't give a fuck.
With the nails on. I'm the bitch, but you got nails.
Don't give a shit.
You're the one who looks like a bitch.
So
you're way more bitch than I will ever be.
And so the person who is calling somebody a bitch is actually judging someone's appearance more so than the person who is being called one.
I didn't not only judge your appearance the entire video. You can the entire video. I talked.
Why are you so worried about my appearance, sir?
Because I don't want you here. So for every time that you're here and you have something,
but hold on. Well, why are you so worried about my appearance? What is it about my appearance? And why are you so worried about visually my appearance? Why? Why are you so concerned with it?
Because you don't represent masculinity, and yet you want to come on here and talk about whether or not you're being masculine or what it is to be a man. You have these videos about whether it's you are not qualified to have these conversations.
Actually, I have actually never stated. First of all, and to everyone who's listening, I have never actually stated. Never have I stated that I was the epitome. I have never stated that I was the epitome of what a man is supposed to be. I have stated that I am a husband, but I have never stated that I was the epitome.
You're a wife. You stay at home with the kids and you cook the dinners. You're a wife. Those are your words. You come on here and say, I just cooked dinner. And you're the one who stays at home. You're the stay-at-home wife. Your beard is the one who does all the manly work around it. That's why you have the
manly work.
Yes. Come on, defend your ugly ass wife. Come on, defend her.
First of all, okay, you got one more time to say that my wife is ugly.
Ugly ass wife. What's gonna happen?
First of all, you can have several seats, and then hold on, wait. I'm gonna add them again. Like I did last time.
This is my show, though. It's my show.
I understand. I'm gonna add them. Hold on.
This is my show.
Payne, give me a second.
No, this is my show.
I understand. Payne, give me a second, because this is the type of fucking deplorable behavior that you are not going to allow. Listen, we do not allow this.
No, stop.
We do not allow this.
Mad. Neither way. No,
we do not allow this.
No. On your show, you can do what you want, right?
But however, I understand this, Payne, and I understand this. I had a conversation with BMU before I got up on here. So if you have a problem with what I'm doing right now, we're gonna have a conversation with BMU before this or after this. I understand.
You had one with me before this. Listen, you came up here to argue this thing out. So
I understand, Payne. I understand, but I need you to understand the concept of this. If he was on here talking about your wife and saying ugly wife, what would you do?
I would have said I wouldn't have came up on somebody else's show to have this out. That's what I wouldn't have done.
Okay, I understand that too. I understand that as well, and I apologize. I apologize to you, and I understand that.
Say what you want to say, but you got to bring him back up. That's all I'm saying.
I told you I was gonna bring him back up. Now, Trey, if you want to have a conversation between men, as men, then stop bringing up someone else's family.
I said what I need to say about your wife.
Otherwise, we can start bringing up other people's family, like yours, for instance, because you don't actually have an intact family your fucking self because you failed at yours.
Yeah, right. I don't want a wife. If I had to stick up with an ugly ass wife like yours,
And again, try again. Have some fucking respect.
It's not going to stop. Why don't you go now and have a...
I don't respect you.
See, I tried to have a in-person or personal no. I tried to have a situation where it was just me and him one-on-one behind the scenes, but the problem is he was too much of a bitch to have it one-on-one.
Okay, boss man, I hear you. And instead of bringing them up and bringing them out, why don't we end this conversation?
So, do you want to have a conversation one-on-one? Because we tried to have this stage.
You taking me on and off the panel just goes to show how much of a bitch you truly are. Because you can't do it.
Because here's the thing. I need you to understand something. I need you to understand something. When it comes to respect, when it comes to respect, you need to understand that respect is earned and respect is to be provided.
I don't respect you or anything about you.
That's fine. That's fine. You can
fuck you and your wife. Fuck you and your ugly ass wife.
So why don't we end this, man? Boss man, why don't we end this? That's all I'm saying to you. This is no resolution gonna come of this. Hey, listen, I hate to.
Here's the thing. And I understand our pain, and I understand. Here's the thing: I need everybody on this shit here to fucking understand something. Everybody in this shit on BMU Network and anyone else, y'all would not allow anyone else to talk about your fucking wives. You would not allow it.
I agree.
And I would expect that if anybody else on this network is allowing anybody else to talk about anybody else's wives, y'all would not allow this shit on the panel or in the goddamn comments.
Hey, boss man.
I'm done fucking allowing this shit. I'm done with the goddamn decorum. I'm done with the shit.
I hear you. So there's no further reason to have a conversation with Trey on the panel right now.
No, because here's the deal. I tried to have the shit backstage. I tried to have it have it one-on-one, but this bald-headed fucking turtle right here is too much of a bitch to have it one-on-one. And I'm not gonna say why I know this, but I know it for a fucking fact. And apparently, I'm too much of a less of a man to be able to have it directly because I don't rate. And this is part of the problem with people who only see certain men as men. But here's the thing. I will always act more as a man than he will ever be.
Boss man, I'm telling you, I'm trying to.
So with that in mind, until you have some fucking decorum and have some goddamn respect, fuck off.
All right, so
and maybe learn not to bring up other people's family, other people's wives, other people's children out of your goddamn YouTube shit. And yes, because you deleted it, no problem. Other people have the fucking videos, and I will bring this shit up, and I will definitely let everybody fucking know that you were too weak of a motherfucking person with a lack of a fucking spine to keep shit between men, as opposed to bringing other people's family and children into the shit. And you are too feckless of an individual to keep shit between me and you. And you are too insignificant of an individual that you would respond to someone else's wife. That's bitch behavior. Continue your conversation, because you're too much of a bitch to have one direct with me without having a conversation about my wife.
Well, that was interesting.
Fuck him and his wife.
Hey man, hey Trey. Okay, let's leave that alone, man. Let's leave that alone. Listen, both of you guys, one way or the other, y'all can handle this situation. And
Oh, banned you from the damn studio for a second. Have a goddamn sit for a goddamn night.
Anyway, listen, boss man, I hear why you feeling the way you are. I wish we would be able to resolve something like that on air. It just didn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. Not here, maybe not tonight. Hopefully at some point, you guys can, you know, maybe Hemp has something for y'all, because he has those damn boxing matches. And maybe that's what y'all need to do, get in the ring with the gloves on. Maybe that's what y'all need to do. Let's get Hemp in here. Y'all get in the ring with the gloves on. I know you might be lightweight. Lightweight Trey may be bigger than you, but that might be a way to resolve this with gloves under control situation. Anyway, but I hear you, man. I feel for you. Like I said, I'm not a part of that argument. It's just that it wasn't going to go nowhere. It wasn't going to get resolved up here. That's all I'm telling you, boss man. So it's I'm not even
our pain. With all due respect, as I bring myself down to a level of decorum that most people are used to seeing me as, with all due respect, I apologize to you for wrecking the show. I apologize. That is not you know that is not how I move. That is not me. I apologize to you.
I appreciate that. I accept it. Hey, listen, I don't feel you wrecked the show, by the way. I just feel like the fact is it wasn't going to get resolved here.
Anissa,
you know what I'm saying?
and Anissa, in real life, sometimes some shit does go down, and sometimes you gotta show up and show niggas. Okay, but here's the deal. I tried for months. For months, I have asked, and I sent a consigliere to Trey once the 3-part montage went out about my wife.
I didn't see that.
And 3 children that I have, because I'm a step dummy, apparently. And I have proof that it was asked of him to meet me directly to talk about this one-on-one. And apparently, because I look the way I look, which, by the way, I'm 5'8". I look the way I look, not because I primp myself. I look the way I look because phonetically, I can't help the way I look. And apparently, to some ignorant fucks, apparently, that is a problem to look the way you naturally look. I cannot help that I don't have a beard. I cannot help that I look the way that I look. The only thing that I can help is that I have nails and that my hair looks the way that it does. Outside of that, and apparently because my voice isn't a certain tonality and of a certain vibration, apparently that doesn't make me a man. What the fuck are we talking about here? But I have everything that he fucking fails at. Wife, children, house, 3 acres of land, and apparently I'm doing everything that this show fucking stands for. I come from a broken home. My wife comes from a broken home. And we decide to break generational fucking curses together as 2 black people. What the fuck are we talking about? But because I don't fit a phenotypical standard? Oh, and because I cook and I clean. Motherfucker, if you were by yourself, which you are, nowhere near ever in 4 walls of your own goddamn making videos in fucking parks and shit. You divorced, my nigga. Talking about you're a goddamn authoritarian. Of what? You failed at everything that this channel stands for, apparently. You don't qualify or rate to talk about marriage. I might disagree with every person on this platform about everything. But the one thing I do have, you don't. And that's why I'm here. And you're not. I will never disrespect anybody's wife or children. I will always criticize the argument and never the person. Our Payne, I hardly ever agree with you, my guy, ever. But I would never ever criticize you as a person because I disagree with your argument.
You don't never agree with me, man. What you mean you don't agree with me?
I fucking agree with you, man. Shit. Your arguments get on my fucking nerves. But I will never ever sit here and criticize you as a person because I disagree with your arguments. That is insane. That shows low IQ, and that shows a lack of fucking integrity, and that shows a lack of goddamn ability to elaborate and metastasize any type of argument of veracity or intelligence.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. Hey, listen, man. Hey, listen. I hear you, boss, man. I mean, get it out, man.
So yes, to Anissa's point, I'm sorry. Yes, to Anissa's point, I tried. I definitely fucking tried. So yes, when you aim high and someone shoots low, I will kick your ass to the fucking gutter.
Let me ask you this, man. Let me ask you this, okay? Are you resigned to the fact that you may never get this shit resolved?
If he decides that he wants to have a conversation with some goddamn decorum and leave my wife and children out of it, then absolutely. I'll have a conversation with anybody. Fuck, I'll have a conversation with Satan.
All right, but there's a chance that you'll never get this resolved.
That's entirely up to him. If he wants to act with some level of decorum above a level of a goddamn child. But his issue is that he does not respect he doesn't want to offer respect to anyone that he doesn't rate worthy of fucking respect, but he wants respect as if he's entitled to it. That's not how that shit fucking works. See, right here, bitch behavior. But you're sitting here talking about women are acting entitled, and you're acting like the very bitches that you're talking about. I'm sorry, I'm fucking sugarcoating shit. You want everybody else on this panel. You want our Payne. Yeah, I'm gonna call some shit out now. You want our Payne, BMU. You want JT. You want everybody else to call out my nails. Yes, I have nails. They're mine, and yes, I put acrylic overlay on them. Yes, I do. My wife cleans up my eyebrows. So the fuck what? You looking awfully hard at my pretty ass. And so does my wife. And we have a lot of fun fucking. Oh, hi, wifey. That's my baby.
Yeah, I gathered that. I gathered that.
So, with that in mind, I'm awfully concerned about someone who's very concerned about how someone appears, and he's looking very hard at me. So with that, I don't give respect to motherfuckers who don't give it to me. So I'm done being nice and being objective to motherfuckers who cannot offer and reciprocate. That motherfucker left in 2024. And so heed my warning to the next motherfucker who want to come at me with this shit. Tread lightly.
Hey man, boss man, you all right now, man? Yeah, at least you got it out, man. I hear you though, man. I really do, man. It's like I'm not even in the middle of that. So, but I don't mind. Use the platform to get that out. Maybe it would have been good if it was some kind of resolution, but it wasn't to be. You know, like I said, I was only half joking about the Hamp thing, man. He sets up these guys who have beef. They go in the ring and they handle it. Shit, they've done that before. You know, I'm not saying that's one way. I mean, you're a military man. I'm sure that they've done shit like that before.
I promise that ain't okay.
That's not a. It's just. I'm just throwing that out there because that's a tool that he used on his channel for some guys who were beefing.
Okay,
it turned out to be a good thing. So then afterwards, man, your conversation. I mean, that's usually men have to get some shit out of this.
I mean, I've used the ring and the mat in the military before.
That's what I'm saying, because sometimes that's the aggression that has to get past, because words, after a while, words ain't going to do it. You know,
okay,
and you know, but I'm not even encouraging that. I'm just throwing that out there because it's a possibility, because I've seen it done on his channel, and he had a whole big thing about that. Anyway, hey, listen, man, you didn't ruin the show, man. I thought it was interesting. I didn't, you know, that's why I knew you was, when you popped up here, I knew there was some shit was gonna pop off.
Peak masculinity turned to bitch assery. Imagine that.
Oh man, yeah, you got Eda Man Williams saying this is very interesting. So anything else, boss man? So listen, man, shit, man, you got up here, man. You got to tell me a little bit about the topic anyway. You know, who do you think is the masculine man in the Democratic Party right now? That was a real question.
That's a hard question to answer.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in the mood, I mean, you don't have to stay up too long. I know you're not in the mood for this kind of conversation, but that's what I really meant by the politics of masculinity, because that question is being asked right now out in the world. Who's the loudest mouth y'all got right now is Jasmine Crockett, and she'd be the last person in the world I would ever vote for on anything.
The last person in the world you would vote for?
Yeah, because she's trying.
I didn't know you were Democratic.
No, I'm talking about
you're Republican.
If she's going to be a president, right? It doesn't matter, right? Oh, yeah, look at this.
Oh,
Big Ant. Yeah, Big Ant. What do I have in that cup is water, man. A fight always break out when you're drinking. Nah, that's not me, man. Thanks
okay, so thank you.
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on. We do have to play something for the $10 super chat. So hang on one sec. We gonna play something. So let me say this. This is the sentiment that I was actually going to lead with, and I'm actually leaning towards this right here.
Which part of it? The second part? I don't.
Fuck the masculinity part, and here's why. I personally don't think that a certain type of aura, whether it's feminine or masculine portion, is really what truly, honestly matters in a sense. But I would say directness in a sense, or leadership. And if that comes in the format of, yes, you know, masculinity, or if it comes in the format of toughness in a sense, then yes, that's necessarily what I want in a sense. If that makes any sense. Right now, who is showing that at this very moment A willingness to fight?
It's not just
Yeah.
a willingness to fight.
Jasmine Crockett is right now showing, a willingness to go out and go and
She's saying a lot of nonsense.
gnash some teeth right now at the very moment.
Nonsense stuff.
But
I mean, you gotta have some. You can't just talk nonsense out loud and make it make sense. She's talking a lot of bullshit.
What is nonsense currently?
Man, she's talking nonsense, man. I heard, first of all, a lot of shit that she's talking about. The one thing, let's just look at the $5,000, which is, I don't believe that anybody's going to get a dividend. How are you going to tell people whose average salary might be $50,000 to $60,000 that $5,000 wouldn't be meaningful to them on the heels of those stimulus checks?
I see.
Okay. I think that's bullshit. I think she's saying that because she doesn't like Trump. I think a lot of people say a lot of bullshit because they don't like Trump. Now, let me talk about the fuck the masculinity part. The whole fucking world was built on masculinity. True. Everywhere we are, right? Now, it's not a perfect tool, but it's not inconsistent and chaotic as femininity is. You tell me the great civilizations that rested on feminine leadership throughout the years. If you want to talk about Cleopatra, yeah, but she the first thing she did was fuck the toughest man in the world, right?
I mean, Cleopatra wouldn't have had
I'm just using that. She's the queen that we talk about a lot, right?
But to be fair, Cleopatra wouldn't have even had something to actually ascend to if it wasn't for her predecessor, which was masculine. So fair enough.
All I'm just trying to say is, I know some people want to say, well, one is not better than the other. And the one thing I can say is I don't like to point to like spiritualism or religious stuff because I'm not that religious. But the truth of the matter is there is a natural order of things in nature. And for humans, there's always been a natural order of things with men and women and children. And we put names to it now, but left up to its own devices, men would be on the top. Right? Okay, so that's where it's at. Now we have laws, we have mores, we have all this kind of stuff, but it seems to work best when men who are, now when I say men, I'm not saying all men, I'm saying men who have their shit together, who
you're saying generally,
right-minded men would do right. And I think when men cleave to women and family, I think the women and family and the society is better off when we have the purpose of building our kids and our families and dedications to our wives. We'll do stuff for our women that we won't ask them to do for us.
That's true.
That's what I'm saying. That's the masculinity I'm talking about.
Okay.
And so when I hear men acquiescing, and in a Black community, we all are. I am too, just like everybody else. We were raised in strong matriarchal type settings over the generations. I'm me a little less so because I'm a baby boomer, and the men in my family actually ran their households, but they still did some things that I didn't agree with, like give their money to their wives to handle bills and shit.
Okay.
I never thought that was a good idea. And even when I didn't realize why I didn't think it was a good idea, I just never thought it. I control all of that shit. I want to know where all the skeletons are buried. I don't want to go through my wife to figure that shit out. And if there's something wrong, I want to be the guy to take the burdens of that. I don't want her to take the burdens of that. But I know she knows where everything's at. So this is what I'm saying. So it's easy to get put in this thing that I want to downgrade women or upgrade men. No, I just want to put shit back in the natural order way things be. And obviously it appealed to a lot of men. That's why Trump won. I think the way the country was going gave rise to a man like Trump. The way the country was going over the Biden, the emasculation of men, the constant shit with the alphabet community, the shit that's going on with the children, parents losing control of their kids because school boards are voting bullshit in every blue state. I'm just telling you, they gave rise to a Trump, a guy who has all of these things against him, but the one thing, he's an unapologetic man. And I think that it might be more to that, but I'm just saying on a surface level, that's how I look at it. And then the young men flock to that shit. J.D. Vance said it better than I could, and I think it's going to keep happening. The only thing that's going to break the Republicans is hubris, overconfidence, and the shit that they think that they can't fail because they had the so-called tentative mandate. If you do shit wrong and you get overconfident, you get hijacked like they did in the White House with Zelensky. They should have known not to put him in front of that goddamn, I don't know if you saw the Zelensky blow up, right?
I did.
They should have known. I said this shit before. They should have known that if they didn't have a signed deal that he could hijack them in front of the American media, and that's exactly what he did. And he planned to do that. And it turns out there was a Democrats got to him before that meeting. And they told him not to take that deal. Don't sign those papers. And I think all the Democrats who are publicly talking against the government and ICE and hiding illegal immigrants, they're all fucking traitors. That's, to me, just a step below treason on that, what they're willing to do because they hate Trump. Everybody's done. And so when I hear these people talk against the country, I'm for Mexico, I'm for Canada, I side with the European Union against America. You hear that shit because they hate Trump. How could you trust any of these people with any arms of government when they're willing to throw our own executive branch under the bus because they hate one man? Yeah, I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible.
Okay, let me start over. All right, okay, so let me start back. All right, I think starting back from the comment that someone made about fuck masculinity. I think the overall sentiment there was that's not the most important aspect of.
But to who?
Well, hold on.
Okay,
What I mean by that is that's not the most important aspect when deciding to pick a candidate, in a sense. From one aspect of it, it's important relative to presenting a sense of aura or mindset or kind of sort of a theme in a sense, right? Resetting a natural order or kind of sort of resetting a kind of mindset in a sense. But that's not policy. That's not statutes. That's not prices of things. That's not the most important process. And what we're seeing currently, and just to be all fairness, what we're seeing currently is the repealing and rolling back of important I would say policies or protections in place that some people may find important relative to not DEI, but because I know how you feel about that. But I'm protections, such as the executive order that Lyndon B. Johnson, put in place that Trump is repealing back over the executive orders, things of that nature. So yes, in a sense, one may say we want someone who's really, really strong, putting things in place to present a facade of something that is important, like masculinity, like leadership, like something strong. So yes, when a Zelensky comes in and maybe presents something that is not appreciative of all the money that we've given him, and say, you know what, get the fuck out of here, you're fired. We want that kind of presentation for the world stage. But at home, if it's not conducive for us relative to our finances, our economics, relative to the fact that we have bird flu on the rise, we have rising economics, we have tariffs coming in and doing the opposite of what it is that we are supposed to have been dealing with. We having to import eggs as opposed to the fact that egg prices are supposed to be going down, just to use a micro example. We have federal workers losing their jobs. Those people voted for him, and those people are now fucking around and finding out. You see what I'm saying? There are things you have to kind of consider. Real life issues or masculinity.
Well, no. See, I think you're making a false equivalency because the truth of the matter.
That's the point. That's the point. It's not an equivalency. That's the point I'm making.
Okay, great. So the point really is when you talk about economy, you talk about the executive orders. You talk about what's going on, but everything you just said, the economy was something that the Democrats lost on. They didn't lose on masculinity. That's just a part of it. That was the part that nobody wanted to talk about out loud, was because they were moving away and they were making masculinity something ugly as an undercurrent over the fact that we had inflation, over the fact that we had unfettered illegal influx of illegal immigrants, and the blue states were all going to hell, lawlessness. When you tell criminals that they can steal up to $1,000 and they won't get nothing but a death warrant, then we saw stores being run over everywhere. So, and that was all under the Democrats.
Okay.
Right? So there's a lot of reasons. So now Trump comes in, and in 1 month he signs all these executive orders. Some I agree with, some I don't.
Okay.
Like the one for birthright citizenship. I think rightfully so. You can't interpret the Constitution by executive order.
Okay.
That has to be adjudicated
Fair.
by the courts. So I agree with that one.
Which I think was hypocritical anyway,
I
because
agree
he definitely was a beneficiary of birthright citizenship. So that was definitely fucking hypocritical.
Right. So that might still have to go up to the Supreme Court. I like the way it is. I like the way it is because it epitomizes the fact that the Constitution was written, even though the whole country was built to be a haven for white people. The way the Constitution was written, you could interpret it for all people, right? With a couple of amendments. And so even though the 14th Amendment was to give Black slaves citizenship, the children of slaves citizenship, the way it's written, anybody who gets here, somebody who escapes tyranny, whatever, when that kid is born here, I think it's a blessing that kid is an American. I think that's one of the blessings that God made, because this used to be a unique country. It still is. And if you make it here and your kids get born here, I think they should be Americans. But the point is, you just can't have a mass, but it's a drawing point because people see that as a Benny that they didn't have, like a opportunity they didn't get themselves. That's why pregnant women want to come here and have their kids here. Not necessarily for themselves, but for their children. I don't have any problem with that. Some people do. So it's not all or nothing with Trump. I just like the idea that, and I think the young people, it's not even me. I'm on the other side. Almost, right? Because I'm older. But it's good to see young people say, shit, I want to be a man. I want to do man things. I understand that
Hey, hold on. This is an assumption. Boss man don't think stealing is a problem.
When I talked about the stealing. Hey, either man, I put the link in there, man. It's in there somewhere. You should be able to find it.
I do think stealing is a problem. I don't understand in what context.
Well, when I mentioned the fact that there was lawlessness and stealing back then, you made a face.
I made a face because he was specifically talking about in blue states. So I was wondering So in the blue states, if people who voted predominantly in red states, then I was wondering how does that affect people in red states? It was a thought process that I was twinging at, not necessarily the issue.
Because it's a microcosm of seeing if the blue people win the whole country. What happens if a poison is happening in California? It tends to spread. Right
now,
so just like no fault divorce started, I guess, in California, got really codified there, and it spread across the whole country. And look at marriage now, and it got taken advantage of.
So here's my thing when it comes to some of this, because even though I voted Democratic, there are things that I am conservative about. So yes, I do think that people who are here illegally, they should not be here illegally. They also should not be able to work at all. The problem is that also conservative people who hire them also should be penalized too.
Absolutely. Well, they're breaking the law.
And so people who decide to hire them without an I-9 are largely and predominantly, not absolutely, but predominantly rural conservative red state farm owners, and I don't hear anybody saying to them, there's something wrong with them, but they're predominantly vote Republican. And when we hear people say, "Oh, well, they're stealing the jobs," no one steals a job. The job is offered to them. And how are they getting the job? See, what people don't know. See, here's a secret about me. And to the turtleneck wearing turtle, by the way, who doesn't think that I am phenotypically a man. I used to shovel concrete when I was 19 and 20.
Okay.
And so what happened is that the person that I worked with used to go and around dawn or sometime used to go and pick up Mexican people and pick them up and at the 7-Eleven and go to the job site and work, pay them, and then drop them back off.
Okay.
Now, that's how this usually worked for the construction company that I used to be part of, in a sense. Now, I had an I-9 and worked, but they didn't. That's how some of the illegal immigrants usually are able to work for under the table, especially for construction companies, for farmers, and so on and so forth, and yada yada. Is that people don't want to, the business owners don't want to pay an actual decent wage in the first place. So most people say, "Oh, in these Democrat places, people don't want to, work, whatever." No, people don't want to actually do the hard work of actually verifying these people. Number one. Two, the people don't want to pay Americans an actual decent fucking wage in the first place.
Boss man, no. But listen, the real issue is not hiring illegal aliens. Everybody knows illegals do certain work around the country. The reason why it went out of control because the last 4 years, we flooded the country with 20 million people, right? It just flooded. Wait, hold on.
This right here. You cannot hire anyone legally because to hire someone, you need to perform an I-9.
Yeah,
so you actually aren't hiring them.
Hold on. Before you get down in the weeds with all this.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Payne.
I think what blew the lid off of all of this was the unfettered immigration over the last 4 years, right? Because everybody knows that there's there's a gray market for illegal aliens. Everybody knows blue states, red states, everywhere, wherever you're at. Everybody knows that. But the thing about immigration is if ever you look at the steps to become a legal citizen, with the green card, one thing, or you come here on some kind of work visa, then you get sponsored or whatever. But the green card process, right, is so restricted. Like in 2018, I saw the last statistics I looked at, 32 million people applied, legally applied. Only 1 million people got a green card. And then, of course, it's the 5 years of you setting up residency and all that with your green card. But when you have 32 million people applying, you know this, and only 1 million get in, you create a black market. The black market, you create a black market with that difference, right? Because it's telling you that the demand is so high to become an American, and America is only letting 1 million people in legally at a time. And then it takes whatever years it takes after you get your green card. The pipeline is really, it's narrow. I mean, I don't know. Are you familiar with Six Sigma? Six Sigma processes and stuff like that? Black belt projects and stuff, Six Sigma. Well, anyway, the point I'm really saying is that there's a process to this thing, and the process is really restrictive. And the process has some natural bottlenecks in it that I think maybe it's by design. You know why it might be by design? Only a few people come in legally, because it's just there's an assimilation that has to happen for illegals. I mean, for immigrants. Like if you come from Europe, or you come from someplace, or you come from Africa, or you come from the South America, some people live closer to the way we live, so their assimilation will be easier. Some people live a whole lot different. So if you have 20 million people coming to America, even, assimilate them into whatever American culture is really goddamn difficult. Forget about some of them are criminals and all that. Assimilating people takes time into the way of the way of life that you want to have. That's why you have to control immigration. Nobody's really necessarily against it. It's just how do you assimilate people if you can't control the numbers coming in? That's the big issue.
So,
and if you don't think assimilation is part of being an American, I would argue with you about that. It has to be.
So I'll do. Okay, I'll provide just a little bit of pushback. Let me think. Let me think really quick. Hold on. Okay, so yeah. So there's at certain places or certain institutions, I got to be careful how I do this. There's passport applications in a sense, and so what ends up happening is with certain applications and certain levels of access in a sense, there's a certain process to her point right here. To her point right here, each process or each phase of the type of, I'll just say visa in a sense.
Yeah.
That's what I can say. There's a process and it's very bottlenecked.
Right.
And it's bottlenecked not because I think it's by design, it's bottlenecked because of the infrastructure being as poor as it is.
When you say infrastructure, you mean government institutions?
Personnel.
Okay. So, I mean, and you say not by design, but the truth of the matter is, if it is, let's say it's not by design.
Well, but then you may be onto something when you say by design in a sense that it's designed that way, but not nefariously, if that makes sense.
No, okay, let's
yeah.
take nefarious. I don't think it's nefarious that when I started to look at the process for the green card way.
Okay.
Right? There's another process towards citizenship when you come here on a work visa or something like that, but you have to be sponsored. And that sponsorship also has a process of you getting a green card while you're here at some point when you're sponsored by a corporation. Okay. So the green card really is the linchpin.
It's a work visa, I think, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Work visa. So what I'm saying, whatever that process is, or the processes are, they are naturally narrow. They're narrow.
Okay.
To the demand. Right. So one of the things I think Americans don't realize, I guess we realize because we see it, a lot of people want to come to America. And it's not all because they're asylum seekers.
He's right.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, neither party has done it. I wholeheartedly agree.
This is a bipartisan thing, except the open, because Obama was restrictive.
He was more restrictive than Trump was.
That's what I'm saying. So it's the bipartisan thing. So the reason why we don't have a smooth immigration process, one, we do have to secure the border so we don't have to have all of this craziness. But then now we need to relook at, is it really just 1 million people a year that get a green card? Is that really sufficient for our needs? Or should we be looking at widening the bandwidth? So maybe it's 5 million as opposed to just 1 million. You know what I'm saying? And so so if you could ease the demand or satisfy more of the demand, I should say, maybe we could have a more streamlined immigration policy as opposed to so many people wanting to get here and taking a shortcut. But the other part that we're not talking about is it's never fair for our politicians to set up sanctuary cities where, regardless of my vote, that our tax dollars got to get paid to put fucking guys up into luxury hotels and shit like that, right?
Okay.
Or repurposing buildings that the community were fighting to get the government to repurpose, the city government to repurpose. He said, no, we don't have the budget. But as soon as some illegals come here, you put $10 million or $100 million into repurposing old schools and warehouses, taking over parks. That shit is a slap in the face to taxpayers. Brandon Johnson is a traitor.
Okay.
He betrayed his people. They put his ass in office, and all he could talk about is illegal immigrants. What about the people? What about the people you're putting these people in their neighborhoods? Right.
So,
And everything.
let me ask the question. What would be the balance here? What would be the balance there? Is the offense, because I may be able to agree here, is the offense that they did what they did for the illegal immigrants, or is the offense they did what they did for the illegal immigrants and didn't provide a balance for our own people here in the States? What is the offense?
I think that sanctuary cities should have never been allowed by the federal government.
Okay, now, from my perspective, my offense is the fact that you could do this for them, but you couldn't do the equivalent for us.
I was going to get to that, but you beat me to it. But I was
because to me that's more of the offense, and here's why.
Yeah.
If for instance these people that they have in the custody of the federal government did indeed go through with the asylum process, if they did, not necessarily, we found them somewhere, we don't know for a fact that they went through the asylum seeking process, but there are no shit they went through the legal port of entry and they're in the asylum seeking process, and we have documented them for sure. Now they are under some portion or some clause of the Constitution and of the statutes, and now they're in federal custody. Now at some point they have statutory covering.
Okay.
That to me, that follows under some sort of statute that has bipartisan support. Now, if you can afford that, that tells me that you also can afford to allocate funds for our own people too. More than likely, what ends up happening is when it comes to states being able to afford things for us here locally, wherever you may be, more than likely Congress has already appropriated an apportionment to those issues at your state level. The problem is that the states have not apportioned what it's meant for. See, how did that at your level purposely? That's predominantly what it is.
I mean, even if because the point really is that whether the immigrants were here or not, they wasn't going to give the people what they wanted with that money.
Exactly. Now,
I mean, yeah.
So for me, now, what I disagree with is if they were not under proper, because I'm a really black and white guy here when it comes to illegal immigration shit.
Right.
So if they are not under proper asylum seeking statute and they are here illegally, but yet they were still receiving certain benefits, whatever the case may be, absolutely fucking wrong. I do not agree with that. I don't care how blue I vote. I do not agree with that.
Well, okay. So let's stay on that one, right? And we gotta move on. Right? Listen, it's not, even if we don't agree with it, then how do you reconcile the fact that a lot of Democrats are trying to protect those people from being deported? I mean, because maybe a grandma or two might get caught up in the net, or a granddad might get caught up in this. And so we're teaching people how to evade ICE. We got local law enforcement saying we're not going to work with ICE. We got governors saying this. We got mayors saying that.
I'll tell you the reason.
I think they're right on the edge of aiding and
abetting. Okay, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
All of them are not under the umbrella of the same type, in a sense,
right?
That everyone is thinking of, and unfortunately, inexorably, they kind of sort of are. Here's what I mean. You got some people who are here illegally, but they were at one point legal, but no longer legal.
Yes, right. They
right.
Okay.
Okay. You got some who got
some dreamers.
Right. That were under some sort of statutory protection, but is no longer.
Right. They never got their green cards.
Correct. You got some who are in the process, but it's currently in limbo because of a certain bronzer in chief.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You got some who are in a situation where the current visa is literally a second away, but waiting on a judge. You see what I'm saying? Okay. And you got some who are in the so everything.
Well, they got some that were on the program,
and then you have some that literally just crossed over the goddamn fence, right? What's happening is that when I'm purposely going to use your name, please don't take offense. When our Payne talks about those type of people, it is normally amalgamated or concatenated into that group of people who just crossed over the fence.
Yeah. Well, hold on though. Hold on. The truth of the matter really is that the way the current administration wanted to handle it was the ones who were known criminals, regardless of all these different flavors that they might be in, if they weren't legally here, they're going to get out. Some of those people might have been here for 10 years. Some of those people might have been here on a visa that expired. But if you was a criminal, he wants you out, right? So it's hard to talk and parse all of those different things. The truth of the matter is we got a lot of different ways that a person gets into a quote unquote illegal status. And there's no way to have a conversation and say, okay, we got 10 buckets. Okay, so how many people in these buckets have actually are actually illegal?
Right.
You know, so once your bucket, whatever advantage you have for the bucket that you're in is over,
right?
You don't renew it, and you become illegal. You know, my heartstrings go out.
Get your shit.
And that's why the dreamers are the biggest thing, right? Kids of parents who are here, but the kids were never naturalized. But the only place they know is the United States of America. Right? So their parents didn't do, maybe because they were afraid, they didn't apply for green cards for their kids. I mean, I have a few Haitian friends my age now that were here. They were like 7 or 8 years old, but their parents got them green cards when they were children. Right? So they started through the process. So when they got, 5 years in, 10 years old, they were teenagers, they went for naturalization. It was a breeze because they established residency, they went to school, they worked, they did all the prerequisites, they could speak English and all that shit. And so it was just time to do the second part of it. So, but there were some parents who let their children down, who didn't get them onto the path of citizenship. So those are the dreamers who've been here for 20, 30 years. They got families, and all intent and purposes, they're Americans, but they never were naturalized.
Right.
And I would feel sorry for those. That's why Obama had the Dreamers Act thing, and I think we should fix that.
But even with that, and I'll say this, and then I need to go and assist with Boss Baby. Do my fatherly duties. I will say this. I'm gonna keep sticking that until the end of the night. Here's the deal. I would say for the people who did not ensure that whenever certain statutory protections came over them, that while that covering was there to go ahead and ensure that documentation was solidified. I know better English. That is an unfortunate circumstance. And to me, that was a mistake. And I would say, I don't know how to bifurcate those individuals. Unfortunately. And I would say the best thing, honestly, to do is if you are, for me, currently, if you're the kind of person who've been here paying taxes, you have some form of documentation, even if it is expired, but you've been paying taxes, you have some sort of record, home of record, but you have a license or whatever case, you have something here, okay? That at one point you were legal, but it's expired or whatever. Go through the process, get it done, okay? Even if that means that ultimately whatever happens, get it done. Because what's gonna end up happening is the mango megalomaniac, okay, is currently doing shit that he honestly has the right to do relative to within the confines of his executive pen. That is what it is. And so he has the ability to go get ice and ice that ass. Okay. Unfortunately, we may not like it, but it is what the fuck it is. Okay. Objectively speaking.
You know what, boss man? The only thing that I would say in Trump's favor is that everything he's doing now, he told everybody on the campaign trail.
He did say, listen, the Latinos who voted for him. Okay, I'm going through TikTok and I'm seeing FAFO, and I'm like, he told y'all, black people who voted for him, okay, the island of you fuckers who decided to vote for him, the 20 to 25% of y'all fuckers who voted for him, anything that is anti-black people that is coming out, I don't want to hear shit. Do not call.
Well, I haven't found one anti-black thing yet.
You know, you're not looking, but that's okay. Don't call Al Sharpton. Okay, don't.
It's full of shit.
Okay, don't call NAACP. Don't do that shit. Okay,
hasn't been a black organization in years.
All right, don't do it.
You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have to have another conversation about all of this shit again. I mean, like I said, I have 4 black folks in a post-DEI America. I have 4 different videos up here and different themes each time. So I think that the biggest fallacy is that DEI, black people is the face of DEI, which we shouldn't be. We're not the best, we're not the biggest beneficiaries of it, and we shouldn't be the face of that shit either. You know, it should be white women with signs marching, not us. You know, but it's not. We're the puppets for these people. We're puppets for the alphabet community. We're puppets for all the people who are benefiting from these programs. And what's even more insidious, that people think that black people only achieve high heights because somebody gave that shit to us because we're minorities and we need their help. And we didn't do it on our merit. That shit bothers me more than anything else.
Very well. We'll pin that one, and I'll have to come back and volley with you
man,
later
go
on that.
take care of the kid. And listen, man, you know, and you got the little beef, man, but thanks for sticking around, man. We had a conversation.
All right, as usual, I disagree with you.
Yeah, so more to come, man. Okay, take it easy, boss.
Take care.
All right, man. Anyway, listen, as my way, we're gonna end the show here, which was really interesting. I know I dropped the link a couple of times. I thought either man was gonna come up and all that kind of stuff, but again, of course, I have my own little strategy when I leave. I think that there's something special about men being masculine men, and reclaiming our rightful position where we need to be on the food chain. And of course, I had to, you know, generate a song about it. So this is going to be the last thing before I leave. And whoever's still here to listen to it, I'm going to play it. I think I call it Ode to the Masculine Men. If I can find it.
In the heart of the storm, men stand so tall, with rugged hands and a will to never fall. Through the trials and the fire, they carve their way. Silent warriors, no extra words to say. Oh, to the masculine men, strong and true, with a spirit like thunder, skies of the blue, in every heartbeat, in every breath they take. Here's to the strength and the lives they made. Laughter like the sun and whispers like the breeze, they carry the burdens, they put us at ease. From their shadows we rise, we learn to believe. When a woman's world is full of chaos, never by the order the knees. So to the masculine men, so true. With a spirit like thunder, skies of blue, in every heartbeat, in every breath they take. Here's to the strength in the lives they made, not just in the battles they bravely fed, but in the love that transcends time and space. Compassion and courage, a delicate blend, in a world needing strength, they set the trend. With stories of honor and dreams that ignite, they chase after the dawn, turning darkness to light. Through the laughter and tears, they pave the way, building bridges of hope, come one man. Oh, to the masculine men, strong and true, when the spirit like thunder, skies of blue, in every heartbeat, in every breath they take. Here's to the strength and the lives they made. So here's to the men who hold their ground. In the symphony of life they stand 10 toes down, with the heart of a lion and the grace of a dove. Here's to the masculine man when push comes to shove.
And with that, I'd say good night from your favorite baby boomer.